Hello, everybody. This is Joanna from Be Epic London International Film Festival. Welcome to our first Q&A session. Yay, we've got another year, another great selection of films. So today we are very blessed and very grateful to have Penny Moore, the director of Trust Frank, John Fraser, aka Mick from Quagga, and Thomas Harmon, director of Fluffypunk. So, before anything, please go check all these films on Chinenzo. We're live now. We're going to be live until 22nd of August. So just go there. It's quite easy. You just click on it, watch the films. You can rate them, please, because we do have a public award that needs to be going to someone. And enjoy. Leave comments, questions, anything on the platform. And if you have any questions at all, just either put it on Facebook, on our Facebook page, or over a comment, or just email us at admin@beliff.co.uk. So without further ado, let's just introduce Penny Moore from the film Trust Frank. Lovely film. We're just going to do the trailer quick, and then we're going to meet Penny.
Morning, Rose.
Frank.
Without intervention, without any treatments, the cancer was spreading rapidly. Do you understand that?
Where are you? Oh!
Is everything okay?
Dennis!
Hey.
He's gone.
Come on, old girl. I'll take you home.
How are you? Get out. Frank,
Rose?
I'm sorry.
What happened today, old girl?
Sometimes I get muddled in my head.
I'd like to take you out to dinner.
Who is it?
It's Frank.
Go away.
Rose? I've got an appointment tomorrow for me lung cancer.
Oh, no, I couldn't. You earned those.
With the way you soldier on it.
What's sad?
What,
I'm going to forget all this.
Lovely. So, Penny, hello. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Greetings.
So I'd just
from
like you
Australia.
to introduce yourself just a bit, and then we'll go to Mick, and then we can go with more in-depth questions.
Okay. My name's Penny Moore. I started in the film industry back in the 80s. I made a few independent films, and then I went into production management and producing, which I did for about 10 years. I moved to Victoria from Queensland, and I couldn't find an in the industry down here. So I did a writing degree in professional screenwriting, and I spent about 7 years writing in children's television. I went up Victorian country for about 10 years, and then recently decided I had the time to return to my passion. So I've come back to actually making independent films. I'm working on a documentary at the moment. This is my first independent project in about 15, nearly 20 years. So it's fantastic that it's resonating with audiences and getting into festivals. It's been a really joy to produce. So it's fantastic to be here.
Amazing. Well, we're really glad to have you. So we're going to come back to some of those things you've mentioned. But before we do that, let's get to the other guests as well. Next on the list, we've got John Fraser, director of writer, I believe, of Choir Girl. We're going to watch quickly the trailer and then get to meet him.
This is voyeurism and exploitation. You waited and you photographed people at their most vulnerable.
Where I come from, this stuff happens every day. I didn't cause it.
Eugene?
Polly,
Why her?
she just seems like someone you'd want to save.
And she is the one for the viewer. Can you get more images?
Josephine.
And if we get this photo in this magazine,
This is exactly what we need. If we take these to an exhibition, the publicity will come to us.
I can't watch you do this.
You already watch. With camera.
Why me? Why photo me?
You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
That was Choir Girl, and let's get to meet Mick. Hi, Mick. How are you?
I'm very good, and yeah, thanks for having us in the festival.
Same thing. If you can do a really brief introduction, and then we can get to Thomas and then start the questions, okay?
Yeah, sure. So my background is shooting and editing. Made a bunch of short films and have a bunch of unproduced screenplays. And Choir Girl is my first film, and it's very similar themes to the movie Joker from a couple of years ago. It's a black and white noir crime film with a messed up love story, where a very lonely photographer living in a very violent neighborhood begins this relationship partnership with this underage prostitute, photographs her, and she becomes his muse. And the photographs offer a way out for both of them, but it comes down to, is he saving her or exploiting her?
Excellent. Lovely. Well, I'm sure everybody will be looking forward to watch that as well. But we're going to come back to some other questions that we may have for you. Last but not least, let's get to Fluffypunk, directed by Thomas. Let's just watch a bit of the trailer of Fluffypunk and then get to meet Thomas as well.
The first time poetry touched me, Attila the Stockbroker came on the radio. When I heard that, I remember thinking, yeah, that's something, I like that. I could do that.
I had to go and confess my sins to a priest.
As a performance poet, I think John's great.
He was actually in a good mood, and I got away with sort of 10 Hail George Monbios.
Well, he's a grumpy old git now, but then so am I.
And 3 years of pointing in an accusing fashion of people still using those old-fashioned light bulbs. I am Dad.
We've never mentioned politics once.
I am the genie who rises from the page and breathes steam into the boiler of Thomas.
Ever. Really.
Night after night.
The rudder.
After night.
Oh, he hasn't got a pirate flag on this one.
After night.
And Thomas, hello.
Hello.
How are you? Hi. Same thing. Just quick, brief intro, and then we get to some more in-depth questions.
Sure. My name's Thomas Harmon, and I'm director of Fluffypunk. And I began in production, but then I went to do acting for Anna Theatre and Ebonywood Studios before going to Middlesex University and going back into production and making two independent films recently, Right in the Middle and Fluffypunk, which are both going on to independent success, which has been really great. So, and Fluffypunk is all about a poet slash comedian, Johnny Fluffypunk. So it's been quite a journey. It's been great to get here. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, lovely to have you all here. First question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to start with you, Penny. Is probably going to extend to all of you, actually, is how did the film come about? I feel like most of you are actually, this is your first bigger project or something that you've sort of like developed after a while with a passion for film industry, but after a while. So how did the idea come about? Why choose this subject towards anything else? What were the inspirations or the motivations, or basically just the beginnings? And I think I'm more focused on the actual idea. Like, how did you come up with the actual idea of two older people, or the prostitute and the photographer, or Thomas, why did you feel that? So that sort of thing. I'm really, really quite interested in like the starting points and why the specific message or the specific narrative that you've developed.
Okay. Well, I think for me, this film in particular is very different from the traditional sorts of films that I write and produce and make. This particular film came out of the New York Midnight Challenge. You get 14 days to write basically a 12-page script, and they give you 3 basic starters. So they give you the genre, and I was given romance, and then I was given the subject of neighbours and an object or the individual of a smoker. So with those 3 elements, I then had to put together a 12-page script. I'm not a kind of romance writer, and comedy romance was not something that really appealed to me. So I just looked at the idea of romance and thought, how can I make this actually interesting? The whole setup of romance is that you have young people that fall in love and have the rest of their lives ahead of them to live happily ever after. And I thought it might be really interesting to challenge that preconception and actually have 2 elderly people falling in love who are actually struggling with their health and their mortality, and see what sort of love story might play out of that. So that was basically where the idea and the beginnings of the film came from.
That's quite interesting. And was it, when you say that you were interested to explore 2 older people, was that something that just came to mind, or did you have like an experience about it? Was it something personal, or is it something that is just out of interest?
I think I'm a smoker, so I think, and I've had a couple of grandparents that have died of cancer, and my step-grandmother had dementia or Alzheimer's, and my parents cared for her for about 10 years before she was put into a nursing home. And I just realised that, Alzheimer's and dementia is something that affects just about everyone, right from the very beginning when I wrote the very first draft. The project just developed this whole it just kind of happened by magic, people the thematic material really resonated with people, and I think it's because Alzheimer's touches so many people, and it's such a devastating disease. So to actually make something that was positive and had positive themes and actually gave a bit of hope and a bit of perspective to the illness and showed that you can have some dignity in aging, and there are ways of actually, with communication and the right supports, to actually live with dignity as you're aging and deal with infirmities in ways that are meaningful and positive.
That's great. Yeah, I think that comes across quite nicely actually through the film. I think that's one of the main strengths of Trust Frank actually, is that it gives a bit of hope, and it's not, once you've reached an age it's all rolled downhill. It just, and there's still possibility for fresh beginnings, and I think that message actually comes across quite nicely. So yeah, I think that's quite that's a very, very, and it's quite nice to hear about the fact that you are actually personally connected as well to that. How about you, Mick? How did Choir Girl come about? What was the inspiration? You said something about being a bit inspired by the Joker. Was that actually was that the starting point of the idea, or was it like a different thing? How did it come across? All of your films are so unique. I'm just always curious. How does the idea even spring to mind? I understand at some point get developing it, but is it you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, I want to make a film about this, or how does it actually come about?
Okay, well, this is a true story. Many years ago, yes, many years ago, when I was at university, I was studying black and white photography. Now, I'm not that old, but if I was that old, we were still using darkrooms in those days, like Eugene does in the movie, but I'm not that old. Anyway, I heard a song by an Australian singer-songwriter named Paul Kelly. He has a song called Darling It Hurts. I see you standing on the corner with your dress so high, all the cars slow down as they go driving by. And for some reason, I thought that referred to a prostitute, and I saw it in black and white. Yeah, so it was one of those ideas that, like, it comes into your head and it stays there. You start to take it seriously. You do some research. Life experience kicks in. I've had some personal experiences. Not so much a lot of the stuff that goes on in this movie, but I suppose the feelings where they emanate from. And yeah, it just gathered. It was the first script I'd ever attempted, and I was trying to write that while writing other things that didn't turn out so well, and it just gathered meat on its bones. And eventually, I met the producer of the film in a security office, and I said, "Listen, there's going to be some money available to do this indie feature. It's obviously going to be pretty, kind of a very disturbing movie." But he agreed. Look, let's give this a go and see what happens.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think with Choir Girl, I do think you're quite right. I mean, very interesting that you're saying that it's just something that stuck to you, or like stuck with you, and you felt it. And you say, I think it's quite, I think it's quite. I'm not sure how to phrase it. Like, it's quite tough to see the things that you see in the film. At the same time, they are reality for there are people out there who go through this thing, but it's just kind of like the harshness of it does sort of like come across, which I think is quite a nice thing, because a lot of the time films can tend to be a bit some films are quite disturbing, don't get me wrong, and they're quite powerful in the way they express their message. But a lot of the time they're just quite artistic. Everybody's so focused on the artistic side of it that we just forget about the reality of things, and that actually some things just happen to that sort of like level of reality and harshness. And I think with Choir Girl that does come across a lot. Thomas, how about you? How did Fluffypunk come about? This is a documentary, so it's slightly different touch than the narratives. But yeah, what was the driving force? How did we come to get Fluffypunk?
Yeah, well, originally I heard about John through friends, Johnny Fluffypunk, actually John Seagram, and I met Tony Allen, who's known as the godfather of alternative comedy, who's very influential in the comedy world as to like the original Young Ones and French and Saunders, and so I came to a variety show. Went to a variety show that they were doing, and I met John there, and then I went to a couple of John's acts, and it took off from there. And then the idea came about to make the film, and I was having to make my final year film at Middlesex University, and so we decided to make a film about John. It changed and it evolved as it went along, because we had different meetings. We had meetings at the Barbican in Shoreditch, and we were having all different discussions about where to take the film. And because originally we were going to make it more about the gigs and about John as a performer. but we decided to take a different route when we got chatting with John and found out more about his family, about his partner Catherine being a nurse and his children, and we thought, well, this is going down an avenue that we can get behind the artist and look at the actual background of an artist, and which we thought would be very different possibly for a film, and it turned out that way, and I think it came off in the end. I think it's worked out.
Absolutely, of course. I think it definitely did. I think with Fluffypunk as well, I think is that poetic way of filming and inserting elements, because obviously, yeah, he's a comedian and it's about his work, his passion, his journey in the artistic environment. Never easy thing to do. So, but the fact that I felt like there were a lot of like little elements of, the little garden set, or him with his children, just like tiny glimpses of memory that remind us that, we're all kind of human. We all have lives. We all have things that inform our journey. So I think that was quite an interesting way. So you basically just met him and you were just like quite fascinated by his work.
Yeah, we came from that. It grew sort of organically in terms of, we met him and he was sort of this great character. He had the handlebar moustache and he had this poetry, and the character was there, and then it was like finding the way behind that character. It was a great thing to do. I mean, there's also an element. There's different elements behind films. Like if you because of the granddad, like I say, playing in the garden, because we look at the positioning of the granddad's, John's father's garden to John's garden, and it's got a entirely different juxtaposition because of it being very sort of smart and clean with the grandfather, and then it being sort of very sort of just more, a bit more based, but it worked. It all sort of the positioning. It showcased the different personalities, doesn't it? I think.
That's fair. Cool. That's quite nice. So little things from the inside journey. Another question I'm going to pop in for you guys is, we're going to do a doubly question actually with this one. So it is, what was the most challenging thing in creating your films and your projects, but at the same time, what was the most rewarding thing as well? So actually, we're going to start with John this time, just to spice things up a little, change the routine, and then we're going to go to Penny and then Tom. So John, tell us a little bit about, what's the challenging thing to, in making your film? I think that would be something that a lot of, people and filmmakers might actually, relate to.
What wasn't challenging? I'd say the main thing is for the character of Josephine. Obviously, this actress had to play an underage prostitute. There was sex scenes in the film. There is also there are other scenes of violence, and we need an actress who could look underage. She was written as an Australian. No actress wanted to touch it after reading the script. They just never got back to us. They weren't. They didn't even wish to open up a dialogue about what they might have to do. So it was actually the producer, Ivan Malekin's idea to look to Europe and the UK. As he said, if we were casting this here, we'd have no problem. I rewrote the script, and this was the most challenging thing. This was where it became the most rewarding thing. I rewrote the script. I've never been out of my own country, so I just tried to imagine everyone whom I've ever met for whom English was not their first language. And then we had tapes from actresses who were based in Eastern Europe and the Balkans, and some of whom based in Western Europe and UK as well, doing these, we called them a Slav accent. We actually narrowed it down in Croatian. And when I heard my dialogue spoke back to me in let's call it the correct accent, that was amazing. That was when I thought, this is a really good idea. this is going to work. And that's where, that we did that a few times on this movie where we were faced with a challenge and we thought outside the box and we ended up with something better than what was we initially planned for. So yeah, that was the most challenging and the most rewarding.
Amazing. I mean, that's quite interesting. It's fascinating. Casting, it seems, for you. It's very challenging. A lot of questions come from that. Penny, how about you? How about Trust Frank? What was challenging, but also, again, rewarding as well?
Okay, I think for me it was about raising the money and actually having a budget so that you could actually compensate people on set for their time. We had, professional cast and crew, and there's only so many favours you can kind of beg, borrow and steal from people over the years before you start to run out of friends. So I really, with this film, tried to engage in social media and building an audience. We did a crowdfunding campaign and we managed to raise $15,000. And we also raised about $15,000 from sponsors. But that took a lot of work, and I'm still maintaining the social media and engaging with that audience and, doing all that work. It really amounted to producing another film in terms of the workload. But what it did to enable me to pay people for their time and for the cinematographic kind of quality of images that we ended up with, and for my learning curve as an independent filmmaker to look at how do you build budgets outside of the traditional marketplace. We have a very small industry here in Australia compared to America, so that independent sector really struggles from that emerging level to that next level. So I think, that was my biggest challenge, and then the biggest reward to be able to actually fulfill the goals we met, and take it to the place we wanted it to go.
Fair enough. I think that's kind of like a really, probably the most common challenge anybody in the independent film industry is actually coming across. But there are ways, and that's great that you sort of like you feel it feels like your biggest challenges are actually your biggest rewards as well. Comes across that from that from those challenges you do get the most ripest of rewards. So that's quite interesting. How about you, Thomas? How about Fluffypunk? Challenges, rewards. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, we had a few. I mean, actually, like the crowdfunding, that was because we began with crowdfunding, so we had to find ways and avenues of like promoting the film through social media, and we raised over £1,100 in the end, so it was quite good. But in terms of problem, well, I suppose there was the thing with John. It was at times. Because John was used to being on stage, he's more used to being in character. So so it would be we were trying to find ways of showing John in a different light. So when John took his hat off, he felt more vulnerable without the hat on, and it showed a different side of him. And there was different. So there's always different little things you sort of. I suppose here's one. One was when we were filming the garden scene with John's dad and his kids. We thought it was going to be a sunny day, and we planned it to be a sunny day, and it began raining, and pouring down rain. So, but then because of that, we ended up with a great scene of them, of the family in Wellington boots, and John was sitting on his mum's bench, and there was a lot of emotional sort of strength came even from problems that happen in film, but you learn to adjust as you go along. So that's the great thing about it.
That's right. Because challenge the weather. Oh god, that's great. But I mean, I do get it. I mean, I think like this is a pretty common, yeah, for most of people shooting in the UK. You just have to always be wary of the weather, be prepared for it. It's never going to be the same. And continuity is like, oh my god, probably like the worst thing ever. 1 second is raining, 1 second is sunny. You don't know what's going to happen next. Keeps you on your feet. But that's good. So we come across these things, but we did emerge victoriously, which is great. My next question is actually a bit more of your personal opinion. So my question kind of goes towards what makes a film or what makes a visual content good for you. What makes it appealing? What are things in your opinion that are important in creating a film? What do we think is most important? Script, acting, casting, weather. What is it that sort of like is the driving force or the thing that attracts you most towards it? And possibly, I mean, obviously you have the experience as filmmakers now, not only as viewers, but also from the point of a viewer as well, as, you know, carrying that experience as a person who has made a project, who has made a film. So let's go. Actually, let's go, Thomas. Let's change again. Let's make things interesting.
I think storytelling is always the biggest key to film. I think you've got to have the crux of a film is always the story and what you're presenting to the audience as because without the story, sometimes audiences can lose engagement. But I also think cinematography and definitely you know, like color grading, in post production, these different things always help the production come to life. But for me, I always believe the story, even if it's experimental or visually. There's always, you know, different elements there that are presented that can resonate with an audience in terms of that.
Okay, so storytelling. I think that's pretty common as well. I think most people would be quite attracted to the narrative, to the idea, which is why I was always quite curious. I'm always curious about this with all the filmmakers: is how do you come about? Like, how do you make a film from, you know, why that and not something else? I mean, I know they say there's only like 7 big main stories that you can go through, and you're like sort of like going around and creating little contexts and different stories. I think actually there's more to that, and I think everybody is that context, is that sort of like details, how you're telling the story differently, or how is the story a bit differently, that actually, you know, attracts a lot. How about you, Penny? What do we think? The things that we are really attracted in.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Thomas that story is king. Yeah, absolutely. But outside of that, I think there's kind of 2 things for me about the actual filmmaking process. The first is the talent. You know, if you don't have good actors, if they're not authentic, if they don't resonate with the audience, if they can't tell the story that's on the page with some sort of genuine capacity in a way that connects with an audience, then you don't have a film. So story, character, and then I think the third thing is collaboration. You know, filmmaking is by its very essence a collaborative art form, and there's no one part of that collaborative process that's more important than the others. What makes a great film is actually when you bring a group of really talented people together and they all share in the same vision, and they're able to take a project into another level that you could just never imagine or have the capacity to do on your own. So I think, you know, having good tools and processes to enable good collaboration creatively and artistically really helps a film to actually be beautiful and step out up above everything else.
That's a very good point, I think, as well. I think definitely chemistry in between people that are working on a film is so valuable, isn't it? Because, if everybody believes and everybody understands and believes in the idea and in the story and in the project in itself, it does sort of like lift it up. And I mean, definitely makes things easier, doesn't it? How about you? I'm going to say Mick. I kept calling you John, but you do want Mick. Mick, go for it.
Yeah, initially for me, if it's a screenplay or a novel or even a song, it's if I can start to see images and see images cut together. That's when I think that to me is things, oh, could be a movie or it could be something. And yeah, but then after that, as Penny and Thomas said, it's about the casting, bringing that story to life, working that story out, which is usually trying to figure out why you want to make it, and that can be kind of a confusing process. And then, as Penny said, it's about everyone collaborating on that story. The team comes together, and everyone can be on the same page. Then, you got a shot at doing something really good.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true. I think that's emerging again quite strongly, that people believing in the same project and getting together to create something that does contribute to like a really a really tight team and great outcomes, basically. Last question, I think, before we're going to go to our truth or dare part of the interviews. Last question. I'm going to go towards what? No, I don't like that one. What films or what filmmakers or what characters or individuals have been most inspiring to you or influential to you? Is there some, a film that really, stuck with you or you felt really connected to and it was like really inspirational? Not only for this project, I know for many of you this would be like the biggest project you've done, but not necessarily for this, just for like getting into filmmaking maybe, or just, as a personal motivator or anything like that. So any films or film figures that are inspiring or influential to you and maybe why? Let's go to Penny and then Thomas and then Mick. So Penny, you can go first.
Okay, well, I got into filmmaking because I was really attracted to the films of a whole lot of female filmmakers in Australia during the 80s, and that includes, Gillian Armstrong, Jane Campion, Jocelyn Moorhouse. My most recent foray back into film, I was basically inspired after seeing The Dressmaker. That was a beautiful film. I loved the stylistic nature of it. I loved the creative kind of cheekiness of it. I loved the Australianism of it, the exploration of that kind of country town mentality. And it just reminded me of the fact that there is room to have a unique voice in the industry, and inspired me to have a go at trying to find my own voice again, I think.
Excellent. That's a very good answer, actually. Wait, what did I say? Thomas, you're next.
Okay. Well, I'm actually into probably more, even I've been into, even I made documentaries, I'm into more experimental sort of filmmakers and drama. So I really like Gaspar Noé, Lars von Trier, sort of stuff. I mean, I like Light stuff as well, but they're two of the sort of ones I'm into. Documentary filmmakers. I was always very inspired by John Pilger and The World in Action that used to be on ITV back in the past, but they sort of, because they've gone on even now. He made a documentary on the NHS recently, which say showed the truth of things, and I'm very much a fan of that type of documentary storytelling as well. So, yeah, cool. Styles, all our styles all over the place.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's perfect. And Mick, how about you? Inspirational figures or inspirational films, things that have stuck to you or have made an impact to you in your films?
Well, the two films that actually made me try to make movies, which I didn't realise was happening at the time, but it happened to me when I was a kid. And we used to play these movies in the schoolyard, and we couldn't afford to go to the movies, and I wasn't allowed to stay up past 8:30, so I couldn't watch them, but I knew all their stories. And I heard about them for years before I finally got to see Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they were, as a kid, they were incredible. And yeah, I think the immersive nature of them has stayed with me ever since.
Oh, I think that a lot of people will feel connected to that. Actually, quite a few of us. Yeah, aren't they great? To just have like the adventure feeling of them, isn't it? Like the most spectacular thing. Cool. Do you know what? Let's do it. Let's do the truth or dare. Now the question is, who's going first? That is going to be. Any volunteers?
How about a race? We go for the buzzer.
You know what? Let's do it. Penny, let's go. Do you want to? Are you going to be the icebreaker?
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Truth or dare?
Truth.
Truth. Damn. All of you. Okay, fine. Truth.
You dare me, I might have to take off my clothes or something.
I think, maybe not today, but
not in public.
Let's have a thing. So truth. Most embarrassing moment in your filmmaking career, or in making Trust Frank. Most embarrassing thing that happened.
I think the most embarrassing thing was we were doing live online coverages for Facebook with the team, and they came up with the camera, and I'm normally a person that you cannot stop talking. And I froze. I just couldn't find a word to come out of my mouth on live television. So, it just they kind of came up on me from nowhere, and my head was somewhere else on the production, and I just, could not find a single word to say to the audience.
Oh,
so,
dear.
There you go. A bit embarrassing when the filmmaker's lost for words.
Oh, I think we've got embarrassing. I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. When you make any film, something is going to happen. That's like, and you can't fail with that. Let's go to Thomas. Truth or dare?
Oh, I'll go with dare because I'll go with dare.
Oh, dear. That's.
I'm interested to see what activities you're going to make
into this one. Oh, right. I bet. Actually, we'll do this. Dare
a comedy
is
skit.
To you're not. It won't, because yours is a documentary.
Yeah.
So instead of saying interpret a character in your film, I think it's probably fair to say have to make an impression or interpretation of John.
Oh God, I want to do John. Oh God, yeah. Well, I could used to do acting. Okay, well,
just have a go. Do your best.
Stuff. It's all about putting the things and lovely, a great. I remember. I'll take that off again. So yeah. Radical politics and everything. I taught you radical politics. Everything about love. It's Christ. It's hard work to do. It's hard work doing. But yeah, I'm sure if I got the moustache, I could do it properly. I don't know if I could. Oh Christ, trying to think. I should know his poetry off by heart by now. You know that the amount of times I've watched him.
But Dad, you didn't teach me anything about politics.
I think that was actually quite nice. I think that's like, I can see a little bit of that. That's not too bad. Very good. Well done. Okay. And Mick, truth or dare? Last but not least, you're a dare kind of guy.
I'm good making it good to myself, so I'll go dare.
Dare as well. Okay. Actually, oh man, I'm gonna say. I may regret this.
So may I.
So, do you? Choir Girl, does it have a log line? It has like a log line. It has like a really short log line. Don't tell it. Yeah. Okay. You're gonna have to mime it for us, and we're gonna have to guess it. I probably know it, but Penny and Thomas.
So I'll mime it.
How many words? Sorry, a log line, like a really short log line.
Yeah, it's got a very short tagline.
Yeah,
Ooh.
do that.
Yeah? Oh, do we have it?
Okay. All right. Yeah, go.
Okay. Guys, are we ready? So you're going to have to mime it for us. We're going to have to guess it.
First word.
First word, yeah.
You.
The character. What was the character's name? Tony. The actor.
You. Person.
Me.
Jumper.
I.
Jacket.
No, not jacket. Person.
Finger point. Finger.
Me. Man. Person.
Oh, I see.
I see.
Line.
Second.
Second word.
Looking for a
Camera.
telescope.
Camera. See. Watch. Voyeurism.
Right.
Oh, voyeurism, no voyeurism. I mean, it's
I-
you. I see.
Watch. Record.
Writing.
Very close. I can feel it. Frustration. Writing or seeing?
Surprise.
Writing, seeing, observing.
Note
Closer.
taking.
Smaller than that.
Give up.
Give up. Okay, we're not good at this. You tell us.
All right. His inspiration is more than you can handle.
That is
that
not
was hard.
the line.
His, inspiration.
That is really a long log line. Log lines can be like powerfully something or that was a long log line. We did our best though. We did our best. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. The last things I'm going to ask, just as we wrap things up, is we're going to go through it. Last couple of things would be advices that you would give to filmmakers, or things that you have learned that might be useful for filmmakers, and any future things that you're up to, or any future endeavors that you might be looking in the future. So let's start like we began, from Penny, Mick, and Thomas, and then we can wrap it up. So advice, what would be like a really good advice that you can think to give to younger filmmakers or people who are just making films, independent films? Because young, old, all of us that are in the independent one, I think they're like it's a different kind of effort, it's a different kind of process. So Penny, any advices, any things that you can give as lessons from your own experience, or just that you've thought of really?
I think the key things for me are just make stuff. You learn by doing, not by watching. The second thing is just don't give up. Just if it doesn't work the first time, people get discouraged from failure, and I've found my failures have been my biggest learning curves and have brought me the most amount in the long run, and I've learned a lot from the failures. So don't discount the failures as nothing. And the third thing would be have fun, enjoy what you're doing, and make it count, because it can often go so quickly, particularly when you're actually in production, and it can be such a stressful experience. So enjoy it, and share the load, share the workload with other people.
Good. Some good advice actually there. I think most of them are like really, really excellent. I think we should write this down as well. So Mick, how about you? Any advice that you could share with us, or you feel like it would be quite useful for independent filmmakers?
Pretty much what Penny said. The most important thing is to be out there making stuff, making mistakes, learning, and enjoying it too. And the other thing is she also touched on this. The people that you work with, that they're really important. You learn from them, and you've got to enjoy working with them and enjoy the work that you do. That's
Yeah,
good.
fair enough. That's a
the advice I think.
really good point. Obviously, you want to share the same. We want to have like a team that you're supported with, and it's not like going to work. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like, I'm going to do something about it. So that's fair enough. Thomas, how about you? Advice for documentary filmmakers or people emerging in this
Sure.
sector?
Yeah, sure. I always think starting with the idea. If you can pitch with a film that's got a great idea to begin with, by finding people, meeting people, and especially in documentary, meeting people and finding projects that way and talking to people, you'll find projects. So that would be advice as a documentary maker. Also similar to what Penny and Mick said, always if you can work with people you get along with, that's great, and you always have to always be ready to adjust, always be ready to move with what's happening. If something change, if you've got an idea and you see something changing and you think this is good and it's evolving, go with it. As long as you stick to your initial idea, you will end up with something good to very, very good to excellent even at the end of it. So always stick to this as a plan tool in that way.
Stick to it. Fair enough. I feel like it just emerges. The one thing that emerges is like keep on doing so. Just do it. It's kind of like like you had something there, didn't they? And just as we are wrapping things up, I think the last thing I would like to actually ask. We can put this together, in fact. So as you're going to tell us a bit of, what's next, if you have any new projects that you're working on or any new ideas that you think you might want to give a go or you want to explore, I would actually like to also know, what was the favorite thing about your film? Like, what is one thing that you just, and without sounding like boastfulness or anything, that you're really proud of, or you really feel it's really good, or you really feel like it would attract, or you feel very connected to it. And let's go same way, Penny, Mick, and Thomas. Go, Penny.
Okay, so something I'm proud of, and what was the other thing?
The other thing was what's next? What's next lined up?
Yes,
and what you're really proud of. Doesn't matter, any order you want.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm really proud just of the finished product. When I originally went into making the film, it was going to be a small, $4,000 film done on a weekend, and it ended up being like a $60,000 production and mega kind of shoot, and being much bigger than I imagined. So I'm incredibly proud of the amount of money we raised and the team that we were able to put together and the finished product on the screen. It's one of the few projects I've made where my vision of the script, 60% of it was on the screen. It doesn't always happen that way. And my next project is a documentary project. It's actually on the lead actor, John Flaus, from Trust Frank. He's a very well-respected actor here in Australia. He's been acting for 50 years. He helped set up the first Australian film school in this country. He's been very proactive as a critic as well as a performer, and he's very well known kind of in academic circles as well. He's a published poet, and he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So we're going to be doing a 60-minute to feature film documentary that reflects on his life, and how his politics informed all of the major things that he did throughout his career. And then we'll also be looking at the realities and the reflections from the point of view of his dementia, and about how the arts, one of the kind of things we say is that medicine can heal, but the arts give us caring and enable us to connect to the world and give us purpose and meaning. So we'll be exploring some of those sorts of themes in the documentary as well.
That sounds brilliant. That sounds really interesting. And also, obviously, knowing the film Trust Frank and knowing the actor, that sounds like really quite like an interesting. I didn't know he had Alzheimer though. So
He was diagnosed just after he
it's
shot the film.
interesting that in the film it's the other way around, isn't it? She's
Yeah.
like sort of like dying with dementia. And he's actually, that's very, 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 very interesting. Looking forward to that actually. So good luck with that, Penny. We're looking forward for that. Mick, how about you? So really, yeah, incredible things that you really enjoy, like maybe a scene, maybe, you know, like Penny was, the entire project, anything that you are really, really proud and really happy about, that makes you really happy about your film. And yeah, what's next? What other ideas or what are you pondering upon?
Well, I suppose as a former film editor myself, I enjoyed sitting with the editor. We had a few story issues with the screenplay that we shot that we were able to re-edit, and basically we kind of imagined the film would be more of an art film, and it became closer to a thriller. And so I suppose in the fact that we were able to work together, and there were times sitting in at that editing suite where I thought, I'm really enjoying this, and there were other times when it wasn't particularly enjoyable because we ran serious problems. So from an editor point of view, yeah. What am I doing next? Well, I'm going to get the second vaccine in 12 weeks, but yeah, look, I've got a few. In Australia, it's a bit of a disaster. Penny can tell you the same thing, but yeah, look, I've got a few screenplays I'm working on and getting some consultations, and yeah, looking to probably. They're not indie films. They're a bit. One is a war film. One is a horror film set in London, actually, in the 1800s, and one is a drama set here. So, sort of looking to do some more, I suppose, mainstream material.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. Looking forward to that as well. Tom, how are we doing? How are we feeling about Fluffypunk?
Yeah, there was. I mean, there definitely scenes. I mean, there's the film I'm proud of. The scene, I suppose. Well, I always think of a scene in the film with John and Catherine where they're in the garden, and where she's drinking tea while he's pegging he's washing up because he wanted to be. Just shown in sort of a comedic set, showing John as in different light with his sort of wife being in trouble. It was it was a good sort of exploitation. It's a good sort of sort of good exploring it in finding comedy in a documentary. So I'm very glad we achieved sort of that within a documentary as well. So. That's what I'm very proud of. In terms of what's coming up, well, I'm hoping to be making. There's two documentaries I'm thinking of making at the moment. One is about a group of poets who John also knows, and there's also a film I'm thinking about making, which is about the history of more drama, kitchen sink drama, and because of I'm worried that the possibility of kitchen sink drama being lost because everything's becoming a bit. Some things are becoming a bit more formulaic, and I would like to showcase the history of that. And I also would love to get into drama and do a drama and more films like that with actors again. So definitely different projects I've got planned coming up. So
excellent. We're looking forward for that as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, do not miss Trust Frank, do not miss Choir Girl, do not miss Fluffypunk. We are only at the beginning, so we have a whole week until 22nd of August, so there is time. Just go on Cinenzo, get your tickets. Do rate the films. That's a really important part of it, as we do want to get the opinions of everybody who's watching. Apart from that, thank you Penny, thank you Mick, thank you Thomas, and we can't wait to see you all soon. Bye.